What is up, everyone? Another episode of working on a FRS with the JZ in it. Dun dun dun. It's Monday here, so takes a second.
Come on, hype yourself up.
All right. So, as you guys know, we have this 2JZ swapped FRS that we got. We're trying to make this thing make some jam. We don't really know the purpose of the car yet, but step one to any purpose is making a bunch of power and having fun with it, right? And then we'll figure out the purpose later on. Right here, we have our JZ torn down to, I'll call it a bare long block, and we gotta get this thing ready to make a bunch of jam. One thing we did find out this weekend, which is actually pretty cool, is this is a USDM Mark IV Super engine, which is crazy. We figured this thing came out of an Aristo or something like that, but no, this thing came out of a Mark IV Super. So a Super had to die for this to live. It's a crazy
That's a weird way to put it, but right? Yeah.
Because I guess on the USDM Super was the only one that got this EGR pour on the head. And since his head's never been off, we could assume that's a, bottom end to the engine, which means it came out of a Supra. Does it make it more exciting for me? Not really, but it's just kind of funny. How I can say it's a Supra swapped FRS.
That's the title.
That's the title. Someone commented last video like, dude, just get a freaking Supra already. I'm like, I'm trying, man. Stages. What are we doing today on this thing? We are gonna get the long block ready to make 700 plus horsepower. We are gonna be working on swapping out the cams, the springs, and doing some valve seals, and we're gonna be stud dropping this thing because that will be our first limitation. We gotta start off by getting the cams out of this thing. It might not sound super exciting, but we're about to unlock a lot of potential with this engine, and I'm really hyped about it. And honestly, it might sound a little intimidating, but we're gonna show you guys how easy this actually is. Of course, guys, you gotta follow the factory procedure when removing cams, because if you don't, you could actually stress the cams in weird ways, and you can actually damage the camshaft and potentially damage the head, which isn't good. So it's worth looking at the factory procedure, right? And just walk them out. Yeah, there we go. How they look. Not bad, not great. Seen worse.
I've seen some bad D-Series ones.
The OEM cams in these things are very lackluster, so getting a new set of cams in this will really wake this thing up. I still find it hilarious this thing came out of a Supra. Like, what's the story behind this? If this engine could talk, I probably wouldn't want to hear the story. It's better off not knowing, but
yeah, like was the car totaled and they decided to take it out?
What?
Rear end crash.
Did they swap it? Did they swap it for a VVTi? Who knows? Either way, I ended up with it. I'm not mad about it. We're gonna get as much oil out as we can to make our life a lot easier. Also, if you notice, I finally had time this weekend to unbury my dyno. I posted on Instagram, some people were like, are you the dyno? And I was like, oh my God, it's been that long. Like,
it has been a long time.
Yeah, I guess it has been, right? Because we kind of pulled it out so we could put the 34 somewhere to work on, and then it's been buried ever since with just parts from all these projects. But
I mean, even before that, it hasn't been used in a while.
It hasn't been used in a while. It needs to be recalibrated. We literally didn't have 2 free days to do it, like all summer. It was nuts. So dyno's back up. We still have to get it recalibrated, but it's good to see. It's like just good feng shui, and I need to get that thing working because like I miss having my own dyno.
Makes the shop look so much more full.
Yeah, with the coupe on it too. Love that. Next thing is we had to pull the buckets out, and these buckets are shimmed correctly for each spot, right? There's a little shim in here that accounts for the difference of the height of the valve tip, right? Because they're all different. And so we need to make sure we do not lose track of these. So if you're pulling apart your JZ head, it's actually good, even if like you don't have to keep track of it, it's good practice just to lead them in the same order. So get a piece of cardboard, mark it, pull them out, don't mess them up. There you go. Grab your bucket. And look at that. You have the valve and the valve spring right underneath it. So this is like the buffer between the cam and the valve spring, right? The OEM 2JZ head gasket has been proven to be an amazing head gasket in performance conditions, right? Usually OEM head gaskets are pretty limited, but the 2JZ head gasket is still what people use at high horsepower builds. What we do have to worry about is the factory head bolts, which you see right here. You see these right here? So these are the bolts that hold the head to the engine, and well, after about like 600 horsepower or so, depending on who you ask, they'll start to stretch, and then you could blow the head gasket, right? It'll lift the head. To prevent that, we are gonna be throwing in ARP head studs to have better clamping force on the head to make sure we never lift it, and well, we eliminate that restriction. We're trying to do as much as we can to get as much power of this thing safely, and the first step is doing studs. So we're not pulling the head off. I'm not doing that.
Nah, you can do it.
We're not cracking it.
We ain't cracking, we ain't letting the magic out. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna stud drop this thing one at a time. Painter tape?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not using electrical tape.
Come on.
No.
It's a better seal. These body guys, you can't keep it away from them, you know? So we're sucking all the oil out of the head so we can get our tool into the head bolt, and so we make sure oil doesn't fall into the thread holes on the block.
You can't compress liquid.
You can't compress liquid, you'll have a bad time. Just tape a vacuum line to your vacuum cleaner and you'll be good to go. Just don't use your mom's nice vacuum cleaner, she'll be pissed. So usually what you do, right, you have your head off, you put a fresh gasket on, it's all decked, ready, cleaned, ready to go. Then you put your head studs in and you torque them down in an OEM sequence, right? We have the OEM pattern right here. And you do it in stages. But we're not pulling the head off, so we don't want to relieve pressure off the head, so we're gonna do it stud by stud, and we're gonna do it in the OEM sequence. This is one of those things where it's like, sounds a little sketchy, but it's been done over and over and over and over again. It's been proven many times, and usually the limitation to a factory long block is going to be like your head gasket, and this will help get past that hurdle. We're gonna start with the first one on the sequence, which is right here. No turning back now, spoon.
Put that shut to work.
Look at this thing, right? Boom. OEM head stud.
Short.
They are very short, aren't they? We're going from a bolt to a stud. So not only is the material stronger itself, but of course studs always have more clamping force than a bolt itself, right? We're gonna take our bag of washers because the washer actually has to go on first or else it won't fit in the head. So get these all lubed up. We want the washers and the threads all lubed up so when we torque it, so we have no friction against us to make an inaccurate torque reading. Put a bunch of it in the bag. Seamus showed me this trick. And then we just make a mess.
I've never thought of that.
Just put it in the bag?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't, Seamus showed me this one. I can't get credit for it. All lubed up, doesn't hurt. We're gonna put that in there first. Because you'll put the stud in and be like, damn it, because then the washer won't fit. Take one of the studs. Some guys like to lube it on the block side. Per ARP instructions, you don't have to.
Told to leave it dry.
So I'm gonna leave it dry. So listen to make sure if I could hear any fluid in it too. You'll hear it go like tss. What I like to do is bottom them out.
Quarter turn back.
And then quarter turn back, yeah. Hit the bottom finger tight, and we just back them off just a little bit. We're gonna do the same thing for the bolts. Get that stuff in there. Also, you could pre-lube the threads on the outside if you want to, but usually you get enough inside these bolts that it lubes the threads for you anyways. There we go. Put a little bit in there for good luck. Try not to fumble it. Little 12 point that's skinny enough to fit in the head. There we go.
A good old clicker snap on.
Yes, sir. So this whole thing that we're doing today, it's not hard, it's just tedious. So we'll start with number one. Let's torque this thing down. Get some leverage on it. It's nice that it's not on an engine stand, because usually the engine stand, like you have all your buddies holding it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all she wrote. So we got 13 more to go. Let's get to it. One tedious little job, isn't it? It's worth it. So I realized at this point, there's probably a bunch of people commenting, oh, you know, like my buddy made this much power on stock head bolts, blah, blah. Whenever you're trying to push the limits of anything, stock or not, it's always a gamble, right? So if you could do anything to increase your odds of success, might as well do it, right? So the JZ is officially studded. I'm hyped. Now it's time for the next bit of making this thing, well, make some jam. Look at that. Perfect timing for this package. It's like we planned it or something. This is a good box.
All together now.
Nice.
Kelford cams, baby. My voice cracked. That's how excited I am. Kelford cams. Oh, hell yeah. I'm so hyped right now.
Is that your first set of Kelfords?
My first set of Kelfords. I'm so excited.
So pretty.
Oh, more wrapping. Ooh. Stock JZ cams, very limited. You want to wake them up, you got to put cams in them. So of course we went the best Telford cam straight from the island of New Zealand.
Bump stick.
That's bump stick.
Little bump stick.
Bump stick.
Is that what they call it?
Because the OEM springs will not keep up with the more aggressive cams. So of course we upgrade. Here you go.
Oh, you're gonna be able to do a lot of Jay-Z stuff and be confident.
That's it. I'm trying to make some pops and bangs with this thing, and we gotta make sure these valves stay in place. Before we even talk camshafts, we have to get our upgraded valve springs in the car, right? So these are Kelfer's upgraded valve springs with titanium retainers. These have a higher seat pressure to match with the cam. Very, very excited about these things. We have to do this with the head on the car, which is a little different, right? I've never done this before, and I'm actually really, really pumped about it. So we're gonna be pulling off the old valve springs, retainers, and everything and replacing them. But while we're in there, we get to replace our valve seals, which is huge, right? This is a little seal that prevents oil from leaking past the valve into the cylinder and smoking. And with a lot of these old engines that's been sitting around for a long time or just running for a long time, the valve seals get almost rock hard and don't do anything, and they just get smoky, right? We see it all the time. We've seen it with the SRs, the KAs, the JZs, everything. Like my old 1J, that thing would smoke like crazy, and usually you just thug it out as a car guy. You're like, oh, it's a little smoke, don't worry about it. But the fact that we're in there, we get to get new valve seals on it is huge. So how are we gonna do this, you might ask? Well, we got this tool right here, and we're gonna figure it out together. So bolt these things up. Shove this thing in there.
Oh, okay.
You see what we're doing here, Austin?
I'm kind of seeing it now.
We're gonna have to push down on the spring right here to remove the keepers, and then that will allow the whole spring to come out, right? So we have to have something to pry up against, and that's why we have this tool. Ooh, you see it move a little bit? But as you see, the valve moves with it, so we need a way to keep the valve from going down. And well, there's a couple different ways to do it, but we're gonna use compressed air. So we have this nozzle right here that goes in the spark plug hole, and we made sure the cylinder that we're working on is at top dead center, so the piston is at the top of the cylinder, so we have the least amount of cylinder volume as possible. So we're gonna hook the compressor up to it, and it's gonna force compressed air into the cylinder, which is gonna hold the valve in place, right? You guys don't get used to that. So to make sure we don't lose the keepers, we're gonna take a screwdriver that's magnetic, or you could put a little grease on it to grab them. If you don't have a magnetized screwdriver, you can always do the 8th grade science trick and get a magnet and just kind of go back and forth on the magnet, and it should magnetize the tip of the screwdriver.
8th grade? That's what you were doing in 8th grade?
Yeah, man. It should be magnetized now.
No.
Yeah, see?
For how long?
For a little bit. Little cheat code. So we should see the valve not go down when we push on it. So right there. See? See how the keepers are just chilling now? The valve stays in one spot. Do not lose these things. They've been sitting there for a long time, so there we go. Spoon. Old retainer and old spring. Look at that. It's definitely not as spicy looking as that, right? So you can see I can't even compress this one and this one. See the seal right there? We're gonna grab these special pliers, which that's the part number if you want, and it's shaped to actually grab onto the seal. So we should be able to just go like this.
Crab leg.
There we go, got it. Look at it. Old crusty valve seal. And as you can tell, this is like turn the plastic. So that wasn't doing much sealing. Yeah, look at it, thing's gone. So we put a little bit of lube on them. There's still quite a bit of oil on it from before, so I'm not too worried about it. We made sure the seat was nice and clean. So we can take this thing, slip it on, get a socket, and it should just click on. Just like that. That's it. New valve seal. And it's like a brand new engine.
Be very mindful of the spring on the tip of that valve seal. Show them a fresh one. There's a small spring on the very tip of it. That's what seals it.
Yeah, right here. So you see that little spring right there? Don't lose that spring. That's what actually seals it. Yeah, exactly. You know what's also good is shows how good our valve seal right now because there isn't any air leaking. past the valves. That's huge. Take our new spring right in the OEM seat, just like that. Our new retainer. Just like that. Now time to put the keepers in without losing them. Mitt. Boom, it's in there. Well, 1 of 24 done.
This is something you're gonna need a lot of patience for.
And probably a homeboy with you too, an extra set of hands. The exhaust side is gonna be the exact same process. Now these actually look like they're in better shape than intakes. Still, these things are rock, oh, see that? Rock hard, dude. Just make sure that all pieces of the valve seal are off the valve guide, right? There you go. Look at that, see? So, the valve guide is clean. Pop the new seal on and we'll be good to go. All right, we got 1 cylinder down. 5 more to go. Let's get to it. There. We have 2 left to go, and as you can hear that little air leaking noise, that's not the air hose, we fixed that. Intake valve right here, this one exclusively, is pretty leaky, which means she's gonna need a little bit more boost in it. But
so 85 if he knows up, it'll seal.
Yeah, it'll blast the carbon right off. This thing will seal great. Last 2. You could hear the leak coming from the intake valve like quiet up an excessive amount by just putting this new spring in, so I'm not too worried about that one. It should wear itself away. This engine's been sitting for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
Last one, baby.
That's it.
Not hard, it's just really tedious.
Really tedious. It's good though. So not only do we have no valve seals in, which is amazing, we have our upgraded valve train ready to make all of the jam and support these big juicy Kelford cams and all these red line limiters that I'm about to send this thing off.
Whole lot of limiter.
We can hear it now. Ready? All right, guys. So we heard some air leaking out of our intake valves. We wanted to measure how much we're leaking to make sure if it's an issue or not. Right? It could just be a little rust on the valves from being open for so long. Who knows? But we got the leak down tester, which measures how much pressure you're actually losing in your cylinder due to your valves, right? So what we do, we hook this thing up, it forces pressure in, so we're gonna set it at 90, we'll put it at 100. We'll really push it here. So get this to 100 PSI, and look at that. The cylinder will hold 92 PSI, which means we have an 8% leak, which in the realm of things, especially with the engine being cold, is in good territory, right? Anything within 15% we'll say is decent. 15% is probably not amazing, but it's decent, it's good. 8% is good, like that's fantastic. Our worst cylinder is 8%. So I can confidently say that that is not an issue, and I'm actually happy about that. We'll run the engine for a little bit, we'll give it another leak down, and I guarantee it'll come back. Man, it's really, really good news, because once again, everything is checking out for this thing to be a badass engine. Austin, what's next?
Cams.
Cam time, let's get them in. Let's just get some oil on this stuff before we put it all back together. And then we got our buckets. Boom. Now more oil. So it's not dry metal on metal when we first start this thing. So when it comes to camshafts, we are going with Kelford's Cams 264 272 JZ cams. So when it comes to picking a camshaft, there is many different options out there. But with the 264 272s, I figured it was a great balance of drivability and waking this JZ up, because at the end of the day, when you're building a camshaft, you're literally just trading off efficiencies, right? With this, I felt like it was a balance of everything we want overall. So I'm super excited to be running Kelford cams in this car, because when I was in New Zealand, dude, I went down to their headquarters. I saw everything they had going on between their development and their care for their products. The guys were all cool, their machining. They took such pride in their product. I knew that was a company I'd love to work with, and well, here we go. Here's the start. I really loved what they had going on down there, and I've been dying to work with them ever since. So now we're starting off by getting a set of Kelford cams by 2 days in. I couldn't be more excited. So for now, let's get these things in the car. Here we go. Can't put this thing in dry. There we go.
Nice twisting motion.
You like that? Don't look me in the eyes when I do this, Spoon. Oh man, my glove broke.
The rubber broke?
Yeah, that's a bad time. Now that the cams are in place, once we start tightening the cam caps down in the OEM sequence, it'll actually push the valves down, right? Which means it could potentially hit the piston if it's not timed correctly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate the crank, so it brings all the pistons that are up down just a little bit, so we could compress it and not have to worry about that. And then when we go set timing, we'll worry about that then. So we're at TDC right now. If we rotate it just like, we'll see, right? We're there, and these should be all pretty similar. Oh, that one's all the way. That'll give us the room for the valves to compress and not get in the way of anything. It always feels like too much, dude, like every time. Oh, she's torqued up and good to go, dude. I'm so excited. Of course, make sure you take your time and seat these things properly. I always look at the gaps between the cam caps and the head and try to do that equally as it comes down, because though these cams are very hard, they're very brittle, right? They break very easily. We've all seen the Whistle and Diesel video where he snaps his camshaft. It's what they do, you know what I mean? So you have to make sure you seat it very nicely, especially on these long cams that are in a straight 6, right? That's a lot of load to spread equally going down. The head is done. It's good. We're gonna say that we officially have a 700 horsepower ready JZ long block.
Unlocking all the potential.
Unlocking all the, that's a good one. Unlocking all the potential of the 2JZ with Kelford cams. I'm hyped. We stud dropped it. We got new valve seals in it so she doesn't smoke. We got upgraded springs and retainers, and we have our upgraded camshafts, and now we are ready to go. The rest is now we get the timing belt on, seal it up, get the manifolds on, and make some jam. It's that easy, right? I hope you guys learned a lot today though. Don't be nervous, just take your time, be patient, and it all comes together. You could follow this process on many different engines and it works very well. So, of course, for now, this is all we have for time, so you guys know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more content. We'll see you guys very shortly.